Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome to Testimony Tuesday Talk and Tea.
Yes. Welcome.
We are so excited to have you join us on tonight, as we are every week that you join us. We ask that you go ahead, like, tag, and share, get someone on. We have a super special guest with us on tonight, and we are excited to have her. So go ahead, tag someone, let them know that we are live on tonight.
Yep, we are here once again.
Once again, it's a great day.
It is. Even
Great
with the
rainy
rain
day.
outside, yeah.
Absolutely. So today, every Testimony Tuesday is always about glorifying God.
Yeah.
Every Testimony Tuesday is about showing the power of God that is present today.
Mm-hmm.
We hear Bible stories. We talk about the things that Jesus did years ago, the power of God that, was years ago. And he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So he's still doing miracles today. And so Testimony Tuesday is just a platform to allow people to see the miracles that he is doing in people's lives right today.
Yeah.
And so it's based off of scripture and Revelations.
Yep. Revelation chapter 12, verses 10 and 11. And it says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death."
Which tells us there is power in the testimony.
Man, wonder working power.
Absolutely. So we are going to jump right in. I am going to go ahead and do the introduction of our special guest on today.
Yeah, well, before we do that, like, tag, and share, like she said.
Absolutely. Let someone know that we are on.
Yes.
Our special guest today is Sharita Jones. She is an experienced educator, dedicated leader, and a proud native of Vance County, North Carolina. She began her teaching career in 2010 at Carver Elementary as a kindergarten teacher under the leadership of Dr. Harold Thompson. After 4 years at Carver, she took a brief hiatus and returned to the classroom in 2015 at L.B. Yancey Elementary School, where she served students with a passion and purpose until 2023. Okay. In 2023, she began her assistant principal internship at Vance County Early College before returning full circle to Carver Elementary School. And this time she returned in the role of assistant principal for the 24-25 school year. Isn't that amazing?
Okay. All right.
She brings deep commitment to student achievement, teacher development, and creating positive school culture rooted in collaboration, consistency, and trust. As a proud product of Vance County Schools and a graduate of UNC Greensboro, Grand Canyon University, and Concordia University, and High Point University, she is committed to giving back to her community that raised her. I think that's amazing within itself.
Yeah.
Beyond her role at Carver, Sharita serves as president of the Vance County Association of Educators and represents Region 5 on the North Carolina Association of Educators Board of Directors. She is also a Leadership Vance Class of 2019 alumni, a member of the Optimist Club, a member of the Bad Boys and Lady Bad Boys Social Club, and a daughter of Pride of Honor 1079. Sharita is currently pursuing her doctoral degree at High Point University and continues to champion equity in education through advocacy, professional development, and student-centered leadership. Her work is grounded in the belief that all children deserve access to high-quality instruction, a safe and nurturing environment, and adults who believe in their potential. That is so true.
So good.
I love it.
Yes.
When she's not at school, she enjoys supporting her son, Chris, who is amazing, by the way, who graduated. Was it last weekend? I think it may be last weekend. Yes, who was a college football player at Barton College. She works a part-time job and attends her students at rec games. Isn't that amazing?
It is.
So
A
even
lot of
after
support
she's
in there.
doing all of that work, everything she does,
Yeah.
supporting her son, she goes to her children's rec games. That's a
Wow.
real educator.
It is.
I love it. So come on to the stage, Miss Sharita.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
welcome.
Hey.
We are so excited to have you on tonight. And just reading your bio was amazing within itself. If we had more passionate teachers like this and just educators, period, we'd be unstoppable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I love that you're from here and came back here because you could have gone anywhere.
Right.
And you chose to come back here. And so you have so many accomplishments. You've done amazing things. Your educational career is amazing. And the students love you. And you work at Carver with one of my faves. And so I love Miss Regina Miles. I do have to say that. I love her. She was the assistant principal when I started teaching at Zeb, and Dr. Hargrove was the principal there, and they were amazing. Like it was just perfect for me to start my teaching career under them. Their wisdom, their knowledge, just direction. It was just really good for me. And Miss Miles, I worried her. I just feel like I'm saying that because like she was my go-to. Like anytime I needed to talk or anything like that, I could just, really talk to her. And so, and even when I was about to depart, I called her to say, hey, I think this is what is about to happen. And so she's just really been great. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And thank you for all that you do for education.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so things may not have always been like this. And so we want to hear your story on tonight. Your story is just so amazing. So I don't remember when it was that you spoke at your church, and I saw the clip and I was so captivated. And I thought, wow, God, you have just been amazing in her life. And so we want to hear from you. So take us to growing up here in Henderson. What was life like for you?
Well, back when I was 6 years old, myself and at the time, 3 of my other siblings were taken away from my mom. So I was 6. Right now I am the oldest of 6, but at the time I was the oldest of 4. We grew up on Lamb Street at that time, and we were taken away from my mom when I was 6 years old. So from the age of 6 to the age of 8, I moved around to a lot of foster homes. I had a hard time coping, so I was one of the ones that moved around a lot, where my other siblings, they kind of stayed where they were. At the time, I was placed in foster care with a lady. Her name at the time was Patricia Alexander, and we grew up over there on Elizabeth Street. And that same year that she brought me in, which was like September of 1994, was the same year that she lost her husband. And so at the time, it was myself and another girl in the home. So she had 2 foster kids. That's when we relocated to Andrews Avenue across the street from Shopping Car. And so at the time, she started to get more foster kids in. So I think it was one point in time where it was 8 of us in her home as foster children. She also had 2 kids of her own at the time. She later, around 96, met who everybody from Henderson knows as Larry Brown, who I call my dad, because that is the only dad that I knew at the time. I still had the opportunity to visit my mom and, my siblings during the time. And so I grew up in foster care for all those years. My senior year, well, in junior year, I got pregnant with Chris. And so I hid it from my mom for about 6 months. And I'll never forget, may she rest in peace. Miss Carol Simmons was my cheerleading coach. And when she heard the rumor, she said, I'm going to give you a week to tell your mom, and I'm going to tell her. So I was a little scared to tell her at the time because I had another mishap prior to this incident where I got pregnant, but I had a miscarriage. So I was kind of disappointed in myself. I didn't want to tell her, but I ended up telling her. And so, she told me, she was a little bit disappointed, but she still wanted me to finish my high school year and to finish school and to go as planned as we had always planned. So I had Chris my senior year of high school, winter, right before we got out for exams. So I took my exams. I went back to school in January, finished high school. And then so we made arrangements for me to still do as planned and to go off to college. So I went off to UNC Greensboro my freshman year, 2005. At the time, the arrangement was for Chris to stay in Henderson with my Aunt Dorothy, and my mom would take care of him during the day because she had a daycare, but I would come home every weekend. And so that is what I did for my first 2 years of college. I went to school throughout the week. On Friday, I would ride home with somebody who lived in Henderson. And then on Sundays, either I would ride back with that person or my pastor would bring me back to school on Sunday. So I did that for like the first 2.5 years. My third year of college, I brought Chris up with me to Greensboro. At the time, I would go to class, I would work, I would pick him up from school. And so we did that for a year. My last year of college, my biological dad, who I met in 2005, he moved in with me for a semester to help with Chris because at that time I had my internship and I was still working. So I finished school in 5 years at UNCG. I graduated in 2010. At the time when I graduated, there was a freeze on teaching. So I'm like, oh Lord, I'm out of school, don't have a job. But at the time I knew someone who knew someone. And so they kind of was like, well, you got a job here. I can offer it, but I can't offer it. It's a freeze on it. And so that's how I got to Carver in 2010 and started my teaching career. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry about that. All right. So that is amazing within itself. Now I want to ask you a question. When you found out you were pregnant, did you still want to go to school yourself?
At the time, I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to do this when I have a baby? So that's what kind of kept me from telling my mom because I was disappointed in myself. Like I said, that had already happened like a year before when I had gotten pregnant, but I had a miscarriage. And so we had kind of gotten past that. So it was like, oh Lord, I'm to the end. I've gotten pregnant again. Like, how am I going to be able to go to school and do this? So I didn't think that I was going to be able to go. But when my aunt stepped up and said that she would help take care of him throughout the week, I just had to come home. Like, that was a blessing because, like, for me growing up, something I kind of skipped in my story is the fact that my mom had me when she was 14. So a lot of what went on when we were growing up and how we got placed in foster care, I would say, is because she was young. And so she didn't have a positive role model herself. Right. So it was hard for her to raise us because her love at the time was with a man.
Right.
And so because she was young, and so like now that I'm older, I realize it, and like we're really, really close now, but it's just that I just saw that all over again for me. I'm like, even though I didn't get pregnant when I was 14, like I'm 18, but still, like, how can I do this with a child? So those were the emotions going through me at the time. And that's why I kept it from my mom for 6 months. I'm just so blessed that Chris, nothing was wrong with him when he was born, because I didn't get any care until I was 6 months pregnant. I'd never gone to a doctor, nothing, until I was 6 months pregnant.
Wow. Wow. And so then your sophomore, junior year, I guess, you bring Chris back up with you. And so he's able to go to like daycare.
Yep, I got him in it was called More at 4 at the time, a More at 4 program that was right like beside UNCG's campus. So at the time, I didn't even have a car. So we would get up early in the morning, we would get on the bus, we would ride to the daycare, and then I would walk across the street to UNCG. And so we did that for probably about a semester until I got a car. And so that's how we got around for like the first year when he stayed with me.
Wow. Wow. That's all I can say. And so then you graduate and you come back to Henderson.
I came back to Henderson.
And so how was that coming into the classroom at Carver? And did you take Chris with you to Carver?
Oh, that's a whole nother story. So yes, my first year, so like I said, I moved back to Henderson. I was renting a house from a family member. And so at the time, that house was in M. Rollis' school district. But I'm like, it's my first year teaching. Let's start him off at Carver. It was horrible. I don't know what it was about Chris. He just gave the other kindergarten teacher a hard time. They were just always calling me. Like the TA was like, Miss Jones, Chris is doing this. He under the table. He doing this. So I think Chris probably stayed at Carver for about a month. And then I transferred him to M. Rollins. He was just, I was like, there is no way I'm going to get through my first year teaching with Chris. I mean, he was mischievous. He stayed doing something. And so, yeah, we had to send him to M. Rollins.
Gotcha. Totally understand. Totally understand. So that is good. And so then you work for a little while, take a hiatus, and then you come back.
Yep. So I worked 4 years at Carver as a kindergarten teacher. I took off for a year to run my friend's business while she was away. And so I took 1 year off. And then when I returned again, it was like word of ear, like somebody was like, well, look, they need a teacher at LB Yancey. And so they were like, I don't think it's going to be a kindergarten position, but it's a position. And so at the time, I had already finished my first master's in curriculum and instruction for K through 6. So I could be a reading teacher because my degree at first was pre-K kindergarten. So I was hired to be the first grade teacher at LB Yancey when I returned in 2015. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And so what made you want to go back and pursue the principalship?
So it was kind of like somebody was like, I think you should do it. So what it was, so I've always enjoyed being a teacher. Originally, when I went to school because I wanted to own my own childcare center. But when I got out of school, I was like, look, I got all these student loans. I don't know how to run a business. So that's how I kind of got into the classroom. I always knew I wanted to work with children, but at the time it wasn't a classroom teacher until I was like, my finances are not right. So a few years ago, Dr. Bullock, who was my principal at the time, was like, Jones, I think you should apply for this program. And I'm like, what program? She's like, to become an administrator. And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't think I want to be an administrator. She was like, no, you'd be really good at it. She was like, you're already a mentor. You mentor teachers. There's a lot of stuff that you do that's on the lines of administration. So I was like, okay. So I applied for the program through High Point, and so those were some different things that we had to do to get through different steps of it. So when I finally got accepted into it, I'm like, maybe I can do this. I really, so I had already gotten a degree from Concordia in administration, but it was completely different from the experience that I had at High Point. So when I got the degree from Concordia, everything was online based. It wasn't like any hands-on, any internship or anything. But when I got accepted to the program for High Point, they paid for everything. We had sessions on the campus. We did a lot of things in our cohort with the other members. We had some sessions online. And then the internship for the full year that I did at early college was completely a different experience for me because all of my years of education have always been in elementary school. So it was different working with teenagers, which was very, very enjoying. And I really, really loved it and missed it. And like even now, when I see some of those students since I've left, they're like, Miss Jones, we miss you. We miss you. We wish you come back. Like I really see like, maybe I could work with high school students. So that was a good experience for me.
Wow. Uh-oh. I love it. I love it. And so after your internship, now you are at Carver.
Mm-hmm.
And how has that been?
It's been good. The good thing is some of the people that I worked with before back in 2010, there's like a handful still there, like Miss Perm and Miss Red in the cafeteria and Lisa. Those were all people that I worked with when I was at Carver. And also worked with Miss Rainey when she was at Carver because we were all at Carver together. So Miss Rainey had taught at Carver before as well.
I'm so glad you said her last name because I call her Miles.
Oh, yeah.
So she probably gonna get me for that. But Miss Rainey, I got it straight. Yeah, so that is good. So she was working there when you were working there originally, and both of you all come back in different capacities.
In different capacities.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So through this, you're raising a teenager through all of this. So you're back in school and all the things, and you're raising a teenager who eventually is about to graduate high school. How was that?
Oh, so people get on me all the time because I am always on Chris's neck. And so with everything that's been going on, and then with Chris in school, is like not only am I in school for myself, it's like I'm in school for Chris because I got to stay on top of him because he is so last minute. He is all boy. He does everything last minute. And I'm always like, so Chris, I saw that, you had this assignment due. Like, have you did it? Like when I tell you I have login for his emails, school accounts, I even signed the paper so that the school can release information to me because I just didn't trust my child at all. At all.
I get it. And so tell us about Chris today.
Ooh, well, Chris today. So thank God he graduated from Barton 2 weeks ago. When I tell you it was a doozy, it was a doozy. And so thankfully he went to early college. So he only had to do 2 years. He had gone to Barton College to play football, which I wanted him to go to the Navy Academy. But he just was not ready for the structure. And so he decided to go to Barton, although the Navy Academy had given him a full ride.
Wow.
Yes. So his first year at Barton, he had an injury, where at the time we thought it was his shoulder. The more we started to get, more appointments, we found out it was his neck. He had done something to his neck. And he sat out the whole first year. The second year he was released, and so he was able to play football, which was good. He still does have 3 years of eligibility, but he decided he does not want to return to school. So in the process of his last semester at Barton, he took out a loan so that he can go to the driver school. So he got his CDLs.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is what he wants to do. I don't know why.
Okay.
So I was like, but you told me you was gonna retire me from playing sports. And he's like, I could still retire you driving trucks. I was like, oh, okay. So that's the plan. So he's been doing that. He's been driving trucks for a Holes axle because right now he's not 21. So he can only drive in state. He can't drive out of state.
I love it. I love it.
Wow.
So he is doing wonderful. What a testament. That is so good.
Yeah,
And and then he still has his little lawn business that he does on the side as well. So
okay.
Very
Sounds like
good.
an entrepreneur.
He
Yeah.
is. He definitely is.
He's gonna have to be an entrepreneur because Christopher is not about to clock in for anybody because he does not know how to wake up in the morning.
I tell you, he can make a whole lot of money with them endorsements, though. I promise you, he can.
But it's so good because he's a go-getter just like his mom. And you can tell that. So everybody is so proud of Chris. And a part that you didn't say is about Chris's father.
Oh yeah. So in 2009, I'll never forget the day. And I know people say they don't believe in, superstitions and stuff like that. But Chris's dad and we were not on good terms. Just because I didn't feel like he was doing his role as a dad. But this particular weekend, in August of 2009, it was probably like August the 11th, 2009. Can't remember the exact date, but I remember it was a few days before my birthday. And he had called me and he said, can Chris come hang out with me this weekend? And I'm like, yes, we're coming to Henderson this weekend because at the time we were living in Greensboro. So Chris has spent that Friday and Saturday with his dad. We had left Henderson, headed back to Greensboro. We were on the highway driving back when I got a call that said Chris's dad had been shot. And so I was driving at the time and I'm like, oh Lord, let me just get to the house. So I got home. At the time, my best friend LaShonda was with me at the time. So she had just lost her mom. And so I told her what the call was, and I asked her if she could have the conversation with Chris because I just couldn't. So she told him, your dad had been shot, he was killed. So at the time, Chris was 4 years old, and Chris asked, is my dad going to go to heaven? Why did this happen? Like, he asked these questions to my best friend as a 4-year-old. And so Chris has been without his dad since he was 4, but it's just great that I've had a lot of male figures in our family that have stepped in. So it's like, although his dad was there, he never missed a beat. My Uncle Dale, who helped raise Chris while I was at school, he was a really, really big help. My pastor, Pastor Holloman at the time, a lot of males, just came in. And even over the years, as Chris has played sports, he has had a lot of awesome male role models that I'm so, so thankful for. A lot of his coaches, people just stepped in and just, became a man for Chris in his life. And I'm just so, so, so thankful for those people that stepped in.
Wow. Amazing.
It is.
Amazing.
It is.
Just so much in your story.
Yeah.
You've been able to just overcome so much. You've had to deal with a lot. We're not always well, we're not able to pick the cards we're dealt, so to speak. And so,
Mhm.
but you're able to play your hand to the best of your ability. And so when I look at how you have handled life with cards that were given to you, you've done such an amazing job.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, when I heard your story that day, I was like, oh my gosh, people need to hear her story
Yeah.
because it is so good.
I've always heard that we go through things not for ourselves, but for somebody else.
Absolutely.
But the level of resilience and determination that I've heard from you tonight, this evening, I know it's going to help somebody
Along the
make
way.
it through. With
Absolutely. Because there may be a single mom watching
Yeah.
who's raising a child. There may be someone who is in foster care right now that has had, that are dealing with different things, but it's not the end all be all. And so, I always say God is the author and finisher of our faith. And so he's still writing our story. And though this chapter may be a hard chapter, it's not the end of the story. And so I am so grateful for you sharing your story. So powerful.
Very powerful.
So powerful. So and this is, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second, but what would you say to someone who is out there, who, may be a single mom dealing with being a single mom, just raising a male, all of the things, raising a child, period. It doesn't even have to be a male. What would you say to encourage them in this moment?
For me, it was always, like I said, after the fact, when I found out that I was pregnant and I felt like, I'm not going to be able to do it. But once I had like that push, like you can still do what your plans were, I just made it a point of saying, I want my child to have more than what I had. I don't want him to ever go without. So people tell me all the time, like, why you work so much? Why you work so much? And it's because, like, I can just remember even when I was trying to get through, like, I'll never forget, like, one time I came from campus and my lights were turned off. And so I'm like, oh, so I called the light people, like, what can I do to get my lights turned back on? Like, trying to find ways. So I would not say like everything that I've been through has been, I've had lights turned off. I've had cars repossessed. I've been through a lot in my 38 years. And for me, I've always had more than one job. I'm not the person that's going to ask for help. My friends tell me all the time, like, why don't you just ask? Because it's just not me. And so I will always say I tell people all the time, it's just always been the two of us. Like, although I know that I have family members, I didn't feel that I needed to ask them because nobody put me in the predicament I was in and that I'm still in. So, like, I'm just going to work if I got to work. If I only get 3 or 4 hours of sleep, I'm just going to get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. But I'm going to be able to provide, for myself and my son. So as a single parent, like, there's been nights like, my friends know I'm that emotional crier. I will cry. I'll get the reminiscing. I'll take out a photo album. I'll look at pictures. But at the end of the day, there's some things that I know that I still want for myself. There's some things that I know that I want for my son. And in order for me to be able to do those things, like, I just got to keep going. I have my down times. I'll have, I'll reach out to people like, look, this going on. I have my talks. A few years ago, I decided that I was going to do therapy, which has helped a lot because I had never really talked to anybody about, my past, anything that, have gone on with me since I was 6 years old, or even things that I even think of as an adult now. And I'm like, well, why did this person treat me this way? So I would say, don't forget what it is that you want. What's your why? I remember somebody used to tell me, if you have a why and it does not make you cry, it is not a true why. So I just stand by that. Like, if it does not make me cry, and like right now that Chris has graduated, my why at this point is for me to be able to get my nieces and nephews. And that's a whole nother story that I've been going through for the last few years. And only people close to me know about what's going on with my niece and nephew and how they're in foster care. And I wanted to take them in. And I was approved to take them in. But my landlord told me she couldn't allow me to have them to come stay with me. She couldn't allow that many kids to come stay with me. And so that broke my heart. And so now that Chris is finished with school, my plan is for me to be able to put myself in a position where I can get my own home, where I don't have to rent, so that I can get my nieces and nephews. And it's 4 of them that are currently in foster care.
Wow. Wow. And I pray that the Lord opens that door for you too.
Yes.
So you will be able to.
I believe He will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sharita, thank you so much for sharing your powerful story on today. It is very encouraging. And I think my sister said just inspirational. It is just really inspirational. And if your why doesn't make you cry,
if your why does not make you cry, you got to get another why. And when I tell you, when I think about my nieces and nephews, every day is not a moment that I don't cry. Because they deserve so much more. And I just know right now, my sister is not in a state mentally to be able to care for them. She loves her children. Absolutely. But right now, mental health is real.
It's real.
But I'm just thankful that they were able to be placed in a foster home that would take all 4 of them.
Yes.
So it's not in Henderson. Unfortunate, they could not find a foster parent in Henderson. But they are in Wilson with a foster parent that was able to take in. At first, she only had 3. And then my sister had another baby, and she ended up taking that other baby as well. So all 4 of them are together.
That's a blessing.
Wow,
that's a blessing.
Very good.
And this is the end of Mental Health Awareness Month. And I say to anyone, mental health is real. Your mental health is real. And it is so important to take care of yourself. And so talking to someone, it's okay. It is okay to have a safe place to share anything that you're not able to share just on a normal. It's always good to have someone to talk to. And so it is important. And I say it all the time. When I started school, what they told us in my first class, my teacher, my professor said, every therapist needs a therapist. And so it is just important. I just think everybody needs a therapist because everybody needs somebody that they can talk to. Yeah. And so I am available. If someone needs a therapist out there, I am available. So please reach out if you do. But thank you, Sharita. Thank you for sharing your story. It is truly inspirational. Well, thank you for joining us on tonight. We appreciate you so much. Yeah. Guys, join us again on next week. We have Dr. Nikita Watson that will be back with us on next week, and she is going to be talking about her book that she has. And so I think it's called From Damaged to Destined or something like that, but very powerful book. And so we want you to join us. Sharita, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do for our children.
Yes.
Thank you.
It is very, very important too. We just appreciate that. And advocating for educators. That's another thing you do very, very well. So yes. Guys, thank you all for joining us. I didn't look at the comments before. I've been trying to put them up, but I didn't look at them before. So thank you to everybody who joined us on tonight. Again, Sharita, thank you for joining us, and join us back here 6:00 next week with Dr. Nikita Watson.
Yep.
All right. Good night.
Good night.